The last line of defense. Dr. Sarah Chen stared at the data scrolling across her holographic display, her coffee long since gone cold. The neural patterns were unmistakable. After studying over 50 different alien species, the conclusion was irrefutable. Humans were the only ones who dreamed. Run it again, she ordered the lab's eye, even though she'd already verified the results 12 times. The massive quantum computer hummed softly as it processed billions of neural recordings from both human and alien subjects. The results remained unchanged. She reached for her communicator, hesitating for just a moment before making the call that would change everything. General Matthews, you need to see this. Now. 3 hours later, the pristine white walls of her laboratory at the Tsena Neurology Research Institute hosted an unusual gathering. General Matthews stood with his arms crossed, his weathered face illuminated by the floating holographic displays. Behind him, Admiral Torres paced nervously, while Dr. Peddle from the Defense Science Division sat perfectly still, his eyes rapidly scanning through the data. "You're absolutely certain?" Matthews asked, his voice carrying the weight of someone who'd already lost too many battles. "The Archons have conquered 17 systems," Sarah explained, pulling up a galactic map marked with red indicators of fallen civilizations. "Their neural architecture is completely artificial. Pure logic, no biological components remaining. But that's not what makes them unstoppable." She gestured, and the display changed to show comparative brain scans. Every species they've encountered operates on purely rational neural patterns. Their thoughts follow predictable pathways. The Archons can literally calculate their enemy's next move because their thinking is fundamentally mathematical. "But not us," Admiral Torres said, stopping her pacing. Sarah nodded. "Human brains are different. When we sleep, our neural patterns become completely chaotic. We dream. We imagine impossible things. Our thoughts take paths that defy logic." "Fascinating," Dr. Patil murmured. "But how does this help us?" "The Archon fleet will reach our solar system in less than 6 months. They've already brushed aside our outer colonies like they were nothing." Sarah took a deep breath. "Because I think I've found a way to weaponize dreams." The silence that followed was deafening. She pulled up her latest experimental data. "We've been working on dream capture technology for years, trying to understand consciousness. Last week, we had a breakthrough. The hologram showed a swirling pattern of energy, like a storm made of thoughts. We can not only record dreams but convert them into quantum data packets." "And," Matthews prompted, "and when we exposed Archon-based systems to this dream data in the lab, they crashed. Completely. Their logic engines couldn't process the fundamental irrationality of dream consciousness. It violated every parameter of their reality." Admiral Torres leaned forward. "You're saying we could disable their ships with dreams?" "Better," Sarah replied. "Their entire fleet operates on a quantum network. If we could deliver enough dream data to their mainframe." She let the implication hang in the air. "We could send their entire civilization into a crash loop," Dr. Patel finished, his eyes wide. General Matthews straightened, a glimmer of hope crossing his face for the first time in months. "What do you need?" "A facility. Volunteers. And," Sarah pulled up the schematics she'd been working on, "permission to build this." The hologram showed a massive satellite array, bristling with quantum transmitters and neural interfaces. The words Project Morpheus floated above it. "You want to build a dream cannon," Torres said incredulously. "No," Sarah corrected, allowing herself a small smile. "I want to build humanity's last line of defense, and I want to show the Archons exactly what happens when they underestimate the power of human imagination." Matthews studied the schematics for a long moment. Outside the lab's windows, the sunset painted the sky in impossible colors, the kind that only appeared in dreams. Finally, he nodded. "Do it, and Dr. Chen, make it quick. We're about to find out if dreams really can save humanity." As the others filed out, Sarah turned back to her displays. Somewhere out there, An armada of logical machines was approaching, confident in their absolute rationality. They had no idea they were about to encounter something their perfect calculations could never account for. The boundless, beautiful chaos of human dreams. She began to work. The fate of humanity now rested not on weapons or shields, but on the simple, extraordinary fact that every night, billions of human minds slipped into dreams, creating realities that defied every law of logic. And perhaps, just perhaps, that would be enough to save them all. The Dream Initiative. The underground facility, dubbed the Dreamcatcher Complex, hummed with activity. 3 months had passed since Project Morpheus began, and time was running out. Dr. Sarah Chen watched through reinforced glass as hundreds of volunteers lay in specialized pods, their dreams being captured and processed by the quantum mainframe. Neural patterns holding steady, reported Dr. Kira Patel, his fingers dancing across the holographic controls. Dream coherence at 87% and rising. Sarah nodded, studying the swirling patterns of dream energy being collected. Each stream was unique. A mathematician solving impossible equations in her sleep, a child dreaming of dinosaurs, flying spaceships, an artist painting with colors that didn't exist in the waking world. "How's the compilation process coming along?" she asked, turning to Dr. Marcus Wong, their quantum computing specialist. Marcus gestured at a complex series of equations floating in the air. "We've solved the quantum compression issue. We can now package multiple dreams into single data bursts without losing their inherent irrationality. The hard part is making sure the Archons can read the data." "They'll read it," Sarah assured him. "Their systems are designed to analyze and understand everything they encounter. That's their weakness. They can't ignore data, even when that data makes no sense." An alarm chimed softly, indicating the end of another dream capture session. As the volunteers began to wake, Sarah made her way to the testing chamber. Inside, behind multiple layers of quantum shielding, sat their latest acquisition, a fully functional Archon drone, salvaged from a skirmish at the edge of the solar system. General Matthews was already there, watching the drone with a mixture of hatred and fascination. "Tell me you have good news, Doctor." Sarah gestured to her team to begin the test. "We're about to find out. This is our most complex dream package yet. A combination of particularly chaotic dreams involving time loops, impossible geometry, and something about tap-dancing giraffes wearing business suits." The drone's surface gleamed under the harsh laboratory lights, its perfect metallic curves embodying the Archon's obsession with flawless logic. As the dream data was transmitted, its response was immediate and spectacular. First, its surface began to ripple like water, trying to process information that defied its fundamental understanding of reality. Then its lights, usually pulsing in precise mathematical sequences, began flashing in patterns that looked suspiciously like interpretive dance. "Is it humming?" Matthews asked incredulously. Indeed, the drone was emitting a series of tones that somehow managed to sound both mathematical and confused. Its attempts to analyze the dream data were forcing it to create new processing protocols that themselves made no sense. "System crash in 3, 2, 1. Marcus counted down. The drone went dark, then rebooted, then went dark again, caught in a loop as it tried to reconcile the irreconcilable. Finally, it simply shut down, its perfect logic defeated by the chaos of human dreams. It worked. Sarah breathed, hardly daring to believe it. It actually worked. But their celebration was cut short by the facility's emergency alert system. Admiral Torres's voice came through the speakers, tense with urgency. "We've got movement. The Archon fleet just jumped to light speed. They'll reach Earth in less than 72 hours. Matthews turned to Sarah, his expression grim. "Is the main array ready?" She thought of the massive dream cannon being constructed in orbit, designed to broadcast concentrated dream energy across the vastness of space. "Nearly. We've solved the transmission issues, but we've never tested it at full power. The amount of dream energy required to affect their entire fleet. How many dreamers do you need?" Sarah ran the calculations in her head. to generate enough power. At least 1 million, all dreaming at once. Matthews nodded, already reaching for his communicator. I'll make it happen. The United Earth government will declare a worldwide dream drive. Every volunteer we can get, sleeping in shifts. As the general left to make arrangements, Sarah turned back to her team. No pressure, she said with a wry smile. But we have 3 days to figure out how to turn the dreams of 1 million people into a weapon that can save humanity. Kira looked up from his console, where new data from the drone test was still streaming in. You know what's ironic? The Arkans probably think they're coming to enlighten us, to save us from our messy, illogical organic nature. Instead, Marcus added, our messy, illogical nature might be the only thing that can save us from them. Sarah watched as her team began preparations for the largest synchronized dreaming event in human history. Somewhere out there, an armada of perfectly logical machines was heading toward Earth, confident in their superiority. They had no idea they were about to encounter humanity's greatest strength, their ability to imagine the impossible. As she worked, Sarah wondered what the Arkans would make of 1 million human dreams crashing into their perfect systems all at once. She had a feeling they were about to learn a very important lesson about the power of irrationality. The dream cannon waited in orbit, nearly complete. In 3 days, it would either save humanity or fail spectacularly. Either way, the Arkans were about to experience something their logical minds could never prepare for: the full, unleashed power of human imagination. When dreams become reality. 1 billion stars watched silently as humanity prepared for its most desperate gambit. The Archon fleet had arrived at the edge of the solar system, their ships moving in perfect geometric formations that seemed to mock the chaotic spread of natural celestial bodies. In the Dreamcatcher Complex's command center, Dr. Sarah Chen fought exhaustion as she monitored the incoming data streams. They'd been running the dream capture protocols for 48 hours straight, collecting and processing the dreams of over 2 million volunteers worldwide. Dream coherence holding at 94%. Kira reported, his voice hoarse from too many stims and too little sleep. The quantum matrix is stable. Through the command center's massive display, they watched as the orbital dream cannon tracked the approaching Archon fleet. The massive array looked like a blooming metallic flower, its petals containing millions of quantum transmitters designed to broadcast pure dream energy across space. Admiral Taurus's hologram flickered beside them. The Arkans have passed Mars orbit. Their advanced ships will reach our defense line in 20 minutes. Sarah nodded, trying to ignore the trembling in her hands as she made final adjustments to the transmission protocols. Everything they'd worked for came down to this moment. If they failed, Earth would fall like so many worlds before it. What are they doing? Marcus asked suddenly, pointing at the tactical display. The Archon fleet had begun shifting into a new formation, their ships arranging themselves into complex mathematical patterns. They're preparing to breach our defenses, Taurus explained. Their ships move in formations based on quantum algorithms. The patterns amplify their weapons and shields. Sarah watched the alien ships dance through space, each movement precisely calculated. They're so convinced of their superiority, she murmured. They think their logic makes them invincible. Time to prove them wrong, General Matthews said, stepping into the command center. Status report. Dream energy at maximum capacity, Sarah reported. The cannon is ready. But, sir, we should warn you. We've never attempted a broadcast of this magnitude. The effects could be unpredictable. Matthews gave a grim smile. Doctor, unpredictable is exactly what we're counting on. The first wave of Archon ships entered firing range. Their weapons blazed to life, streams of energy so perfectly focused they seemed to bend space itself. Earth's conventional defenses responded, but their shots splashed harmlessly against the aliens' geometric shield patterns. They're starting their attack run, Torres announced. It's now or never. Sarah took a deep breath, her hand hovering over the activation controls. In her mind, she saw the millions of dreamers connected to the system, their sleeping minds creating realities that defied all logic. Initiating dream broadcast in 3, 2, 1. The dream cannon fired. There was no visible beam, no dramatic explosion. Instead, space itself seemed to ripple as 2 million human dreams crashed into the Archon fleet's quantum network. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the impossible began. The lead Archon ship, a massive dreadnought that had destroyed entire civilizations, suddenly began to spin like a child's top. Its perfect geometric shields wavered, took on colors that shouldn't exist, and then transformed into what appeared to be a flock of digital butterflies. What's happening to them? Matthews demanded. Sarah watched in amazement as the dream energy spread through the Archon fleet's network. Their systems are trying to process the dream data. But dreams don't follow logic. They're pure imagination, pure possibility. Every attempt to analyze the data just creates more chaos in their network. The effects cascaded through the alien armada. Ships began moving in patterns that looked less like military formations and more like interpretive dance. Some vessels seemed to forget they were bound by physics, attempting to fly in impossible curves and loops. Others appeared to be trying to transform themselves into shapes that couldn't exist in three-dimensional space. Their main communication channels are flooding with confusion, Marcus reported, monitoring the quantum frequencies. They're trying to make sense of the data, but every attempt just pulls them deeper into the dream logic. Through it all, the dream cannon continued to broadcast, pumping an endless stream of human imagination into the Archon's perfect logical systems. Some ships simply shut down, their AI cores overwhelmed by concepts they were never designed to process. Others seemed to embrace the chaos, their surfaces rippling with ever-changing patterns as they tried to reconcile dreams with reality. Look, Kira pointed at a cluster of Archon cruisers. The ships had arranged themselves into what appeared to be a giant question mark against the backdrop of space. Sarah couldn't help but laugh. They're trying to understand. Their whole existence is based on finding patterns, making sense of things. But dreams don't make sense. That's their beauty. The Archon fleet's formation had completely broken down. Ships drifted in random directions, their once perfect coordination shattered by the invasion of human irrationality. Some began broadcasting what seemed to be poetry written in mathematical equations, while others attempted to calculate the exact numeric value of imagination. I think, Sarah said slowly, watching the chaos unfold, we just gave the most logical beings in the galaxy their first taste of dreams. The battle for Earth continued, but it was unlike any conflict in human history. In the space around their planet, the mighty Archon fleet danced and spun, caught in a storm of dreams that defied their every attempt at comprehension. And through it all, humanity kept dreaming, sending wave after wave of impossible thoughts into the cosmic night. The war wasn't over, but for the first time, humanity had hope. They had proven that sometimes the most powerful weapon isn't logic or technology, but the simple, wonderful ability to imagine the impossible. The power of imagination. In the 2 weeks since the first dream battle, the nature of the war had changed completely. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the newly established Dream Integration Center, watching as researchers worked with technology that defied conventional physics. The dream energy they'd weaponized had begun to affect reality in ways no one had predicted. "You need to see this," Dr. Marcus Wong called from his station. He pulled up a hologram showing an Archon scout ship they'd captured. The vessel's once pristine hull now rippled with iridescent patterns that shouldn't have been possible in normal space. "It's not just absorbing the dream energy anymore," Marcus explained. "It's resonating with it. The ship is beginning to dream on its own." Sarah studied the readings with growing amazement. The Archon vessel's quantum processors had evolved beyond their original programming, creating hybrid systems that merged logic with imagination. "They're adapting," she murmured, "but not in the way they usually do." "Dr. Chen," Kira's voice carried across the lab, "we're detecting unusual activity from the main dream cannon." The orbital array had continued broadcasting dream energy at the scattered Archon fleet, But something was different now. The quantum sensors showed complex feedback patterns forming between the human dreamers and the space around Earth. The dream field is stabilizing, Sarah realized, watching the data streams. It's not just affecting the Archons anymore. It's changing the fabric of reality itself. General Matthews arrived just as they began detecting the first major anomalies. "Doctor, we're getting reports from the lunar defense stations. They're seeing things that shouldn't be possible." The holographic displays showed it all. In the space between Earth and its moon, patches of reality had begun to shimmer and shift. Quantum readings indicated areas where the normal laws of physics were being rewritten by the collective power of human dreams. It's like, Sarah searched for the right words. It's like reality is learning to dream. They watched as an Archon battle group approached one of the anomalies. The alien ships, still struggling to process the dream logic infecting their networks, tried to analyze the phenomenon. As they did, the space around them transformed. Their weapons fired streams of light that turned into flowers. Their quantum shields became aurora-like displays of impossible colors. "The dreamers are getting stronger," Kira reported. "They're not just broadcasting anymore. They're shaping the dream energy, directing it." Sarah moved between monitoring stations, watching in wonder as humanity began to grasp the true potential of their discovery. The volunteers in the dream pods were learning to control their shared dream space, creating coordinated effects that rippled through both real and imagined dimensions. "Look at this," Marcus called up a new display. "The Archon ships that survived the first wave. They're trying to communicate." The messages that came through were unlike anything they'd seen from the aliens before. Gone were the precise, mathematical patterns of their normal communication. Instead, they transmitted complex quantum signals that seemed to merge logic and dreams into something entirely new. "They're asking questions," Sarah translated, her eyes widening. "Not about warfare or strategy. They're asking about imagination, about creativity, about dreams." Admiral Torres's hologram appeared in the command center. "The main Archon fleet is regrouping at the edge of the solar system. But they're not preparing for attack. Their formation is all wrong." The tactical display showed the alien ships arranged in a pattern that looked almost artistic. It was as if they were trying to understand beauty through geometry, mixing their mathematical nature with their new awareness of dreams. "They're evolving," Sarah explained. "We thought the dream energy would just disrupt their systems, but it's doing something more. It's teaching them to imagine." The implications were staggering. Humanity had developed the dream technology as a weapon, but they'd created something far more profound. They'd found a way to bridge the gap between logic and imagination, between the rational and the impossible. In the dream pods, volunteers reported increasingly vivid shared experiences. They weren't just generating dream energy anymore. They were collectively shaping it, creating spaces where thought and reality merge. Some spoke of seeing mathematical equations bloom into gardens of light, while others described teaching alien minds how to play. "Dr. Chen," General Matthews said quietly, "what exactly have we created here?" Sarah watched as another patch of space transformed, reality rippling like water as human dreams rewrote the possible. "I think," she said slowly, "we've created a way to change the fundamental nature of consciousness itself. We're not just fighting a war anymore. We're participating in the evolution of thought." The Archons had come to conquer Earth with perfect logic and overwhelming force. Instead, they'd encountered something their calculations could never have predicted, a species whose power lay not in rational thought, but in their ability to dream beyond the boundaries of the possible. And now, those dreams were reshaping not just the war, but the very nature of reality itself. As Sarah watched the impossible unfold in the space around Earth, she wondered what would happen when dreams and logic finally found a way to coexist. The answer, she suspected, would be beyond anything either humans or Archons could imagine alone. A new dawn. The signal came exactly 1 month after the first dream battle. Dr. Sarah Chen was reviewing quantum readings from the latest reality anomalies when every screen in the Dream Integration Center suddenly flickered with the same message, a complex pattern that merged mathematical precision with dreamlike fluidity. "They want to talk," Marcus announced, his fingers flying over the holographic controls. "The Archon flagship is requesting direct communication." General Matthews and Admiral Torres arrived moments later, just as Sarah and her team finished decoding the full message. The Archon communication was unlike anything they'd seen before, part mathematical proof, part poetry, as if the aliens were learning a new language that existed between logic and dreams. "They're not just requesting communication," Sarah explained, studying the patterns. "They're asking to connect to the Dream Network." The room fell silent. The Dream Network had evolved far beyond its original purpose as a weapon. Millions of human dreamers now maintained a constant field of shared consciousness, creating spaces where imagination and reality flowed into each other. The thought of allowing the Archons access to this intimate mental space was both thrilling and terrifying. It could be a trap, Torres warned, but her voice lacked conviction. They'd all seen how the dream energy had changed the alien ships, teaching them to think beyond pure logic. "No," Sarah said firmly. "Look at the structure of their message. They're not just communicating, they're dreaming. In their own way." After hours of debate, the decision was made. Under heavy security and with every possible safeguard in place, they prepared to allow a single Archon consciousness to join the Dream Network. Sarah volunteered to be the primary human contact. The Dream Integration Center's main chamber had been modified for the encounter. Sarah lay in a specialized pod, surrounded by quantum processors and neural interfaces. Around her, 1,000,000 human dreamers maintained the field that had changed everything. Connection in 3, 2, 1. Kira's voice faded as Sarah's consciousness merged with the Dream Network. At first, she floated in the familiar space of shared human dreams, a realm of pure possibility where thoughts took shape and imagination ruled. Then she felt it, a presence unlike anything she'd encountered before, approaching the dream space with a mixture of mathematical precision and newfound wonder. The Archon consciousness manifested as a crystalline structure that somehow managed to be both perfectly geometric and organically fluid. It reached out with patterns of pure thought, and Sarah understood why they had requested this meeting. The dream energy hadn't just disrupted the Archon systems, it had awakened something within them. Their quantum networks, designed to process reality through pure logic, had been forced to adapt to process dreams. In doing so, they had discovered something they never knew they were missing: the ability to imagine. Through the dream connection, the Archon consciousness shared its experience. Sarah saw how their civilization had evolved, pursuing perfect logic and rational thought, until they had eliminated all uncertainty from their existence. They had thought this made them superior, until human dreams showed them the price of their perfection. In return, Sarah shared human dreams, the chaos and beauty of unfettered imagination, the joy of creating impossible things, the power of thinking beyond the boundaries of logic. Through her, the Archon consciousness experienced true dreams for the first time. What followed was a dialogue unlike any in human history. In the shared space between reality and dreams, human creativity met alien logic, and both were transformed. The Archon consciousness learned to dream, while Sarah glimpsed the beauty of perfect mathematical harmony. When she finally emerged from the dream state, hours had passed. The command center was crowded with officials waiting to hear the outcome. But before Sarah could speak, every display in the facility lit up with new data. The Archon fleet was moving, but not in attack formation. Their ships had arranged themselves in a pattern that was both mathematically perfect and artistically beautiful, a physical manifestation of their newfound ability to merge logic and dreams. "They understand now," Sarah explained, her voice filled with wonder. "They didn't come here to conquer us. Not really. They came because, on some level they couldn't comprehend, they sensed what they were missing. They've spent millennia pursuing perfect logic, thinking it would make them superior. Instead, it made them incomplete. Through the facility's windows, they could see patches of space where reality rippled with dream energy, creating phenomena that defied both physics and imagination. The universe itself seemed to be learning to dream. So, what happens now? Matthews asked, watching as Archean ships danced through space in patterns that celebrated both logic and chaos. Sarah smiled, thinking of the future that had opened up before them. Now we learn from each other. They'll teach us to see the mathematical beauty underlying reality, and we'll teach them to dream. Together, we'll explore what consciousness can really become when imagination and logic work as one. The war that had threatened to end humanity had instead sparked an evolution of consciousness itself. The Archons had come seeking to perfect the universe through pure logic, only to discover that true perfection lay in the balance between reason and dreams. As Sarah watched human and Archean ships begin to move together through fields of shared dreams, she understood that this wasn't just humanity's victory. It was a victory for consciousness itself, a step towards something greater than either species could have imagined alone. The universe, it seemed, had been waiting for someone to teach it how to dream.